Down the bitch gang.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust.
You sound scared.
It's about have the guts, we're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to another post-game edition of 5 on the Floor. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Today's floor plan with me, Digital Adel. We are coming to you directly after the Miami Heat's 110-95 victory over the Brooklyn Nets at the Kasaya Center in Miami. This was a game that basically we expected the Heat to get, and they got it done. We're going to talk about it here in a moment. Before we do, though, I want to shout out Off the Floor. That's our Discord. Off the Floor. That's our Discord server, more than 10 channels where you can talk Miami Heat basketball, fantasy sports, all kinds of stuff. The main thing, chat, is always popping 24/7 with Miami Heat fans, $2.99. The link is in this description, so check out Off the Floor. The Miami Heat get this win, and it was one that we expected them to get against a Brooklyn team that I think is going in the opposite direction. They are making trades to get leaner. There was the resident random scrub Heat killer in this type of game, Adele. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm actually just going to go straight into one of our first segments, and we'll get into the player of the night.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
Well, thankfully, the Miami Heat got this one done, and it wasn't a game where we were going to have to give Noah Clowney more props than we will momentarily. This was a game where we had 2 players on triple-double watch, Adele, Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro. But I actually want to start with somebody who came off the bench in 31 minutes, Nikola Jovic. Was 5 of 8 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 18 points. Looked really good in his role. Your thoughts on him, but also we can kind of talk about the other 2 guys in Bam and Tyler, because they kind of had to steady the ship here. Obviously, things have been weird after that loss to Orlando. They get this one done in a very business-like fashion, relatively efficient on all ends, triple-double watch, as I mentioned. But just Nico, then the way he interjected so much energy into the team and the hot shooting, your thoughts?
The shooting is absolutely the key with him. His shot looks better in terms of he's getting more lift on his jump shot. He's got the ball a little bit higher up on his head, so his release is higher and following through higher. And his release looks quick. He looks confident in that shot. And that's the big difference maker. His ability to stretch the floor is just what the team needs. I'm still not as pleased with his rebounding effort. 4 rebounds is nice, but the Heat got beat up on the boards, man. Bam needed help. Tyler did a good job, which we're going to talk about at some point on the glass. But Nico's energy and the shooting is really the key to him being an effective player that can give the Heat impactful minutes, and he can fulfill that type of role at 6'10". Now, he's not going to give you the ball handling in the half court where he's going to generate a lot of looks in the open floor where he can just use his speed, his stride, his athleticism in terms of length, being able to get all the way to the rim or facilitate from there with simple reads. He can do that, and I think he did that really, really well tonight.
He did, and I think that that's probably the role that they envisioned for him, the role he played tonight, not necessarily with the facilitating stuff as much as just spotting up, making your shots. That's probably what they envisioned when they went to him with the starting unit to start the season, and it just obviously has evolved into a situation where they've gone in other directions. And I guess that before we get into Tyler and Bam specifically, we won't spend a ton of time there because truthfully, those guys need to do what they're paid to do, and that's what they got done tonight. But let's start with Jaime Jaquez, who's really struggled. Tonight he was 3 or 4, had 9 points in 24 minutes, 5 rebounds. Still feels like things were a little off, but he was smoother and more efficient tonight. What were your observations? And I don't think I've asked you, what do you think is up with Jaime and the lack of improvement? We heard so much about how he was having a great summer with Team USA and things have kind of gone sideways. So your thoughts on his game tonight, but then overall, what has been up with him by your estimation?
So I think a lot of people are going to point to the league has scouted him, which they have. And so a lot of the things he likes to do, he's on the scouting report. So teams take that away. You got to have counters off that. But you also have to be able to have your normal burst, your normal leaping ability. He only has 2 dunks on the season. And that points to that groin injury he had before the season started. He had to get an MRI on it. They wanted to make sure it wasn't completely torn. And as somebody that's had a groin injury, I've actually injured both. They're devastating, man. If you don't get fully recovered, and the only thing that fully recovers that is rest, it can linger and linger and linger. And he just doesn't have the same burst and explosion he had his rookie season. Another thing that I would say is that his jump shot hasn't improved. I heard a lot about his improvement coming out of the Olympic team, but the jumper didn't look that much better to me in Summer League. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of wondering where this growth was with that, and it translated to the regular season not being that much better either. And so if you can't stretch the floor and you don't have your normal athleticism, you're going to struggle to score buckets. And that's what I think is happening with Jaime. It's a little bit of everything, but I think the injury and the lack of ability to hit outside shots is really limiting his impact.
Let's get to our next segment. I've been wanting to avoid having to talk about the next topic, but let's get to it with the X-ray of the play of the day.
And now it's time for the X-ray of the play of the day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the play of the day.
So it happened early on. Dru Smith played, 7 minutes? And early it looked like, I don't want to speculate. They said lower leg injury. It appears to be season ending because I think it's an Achilles, but I haven't confirmed that anywhere. I want to be clear that that's me speculating by looking at the injury as it took place. It put the Heat in a bind, not only for tonight, but going forward in terms of filling that roster spot. If Dru Smith indeed is done for the season, we're going to find out more soon. But it looked like everybody kind of made that presumption pretty quickly after what they saw. And Burks got an opportunity tonight. Your thoughts on this Dru Smith situation? They're going to have to fill their roster spot. They had 2 weeks to do it to get to 14. Now it may not be Dru Smith. That's a whole nother podcast. We don't need to dig into that. It's going to give opportunities for some of the G League guys, for some of the two-way guys to potentially step up. So the trajectory of some of these guys could be happening quicker than maybe they anticipated. But a really tough, awful thing for Dru Smith, player that was just coming into his own, finding his role, was probably playing himself into a regular rotation roster spot on this team, is now out. What are they going to miss from Dru Smith? I mean, I think fans would chuckle to a degree that we're even asking that question, but we're arriving there because he's played that well. Your thoughts on what looks like a really unfortunate injury for Dru Smith, Adel?
Well, first and foremost, my heartfelt thoughts and prayers to Dru and his family. It was reported, I believe, by Ira Winderman that his wife was accompanying him into the locker room. In real time, when I saw it, I'm not a medical doctor. I've had two friends that had this injury. Similar, it's not confirmed he has this injury. But when I looked at it, when I saw it, I saw the calf recoil. To me, in real time, I thought it was an Achilles. Now, it's yet to be confirmed. It's, the phrasing of it is all dark. Like everything coming out says possibly season ending, doesn't look good. So there's a lot of speculation out there that it's pointing in that direction. Just for a guy who worked his butt off after being cut 4 times, like he was let go and brought back 4 times. And he was working his way as the 6th man this season. Like he in the rotation the last few weeks, he's been the 6th man. He's been the first guy off the bench. Tonight he gets the start, right? Like he didn't get the start tonight, right?
No, he didn't get the start, but he was the primary guy off the bench. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the 6th man. And so for a guy like that to be able to find his footing in the league, to be on a two-way, the organization on the outside looking in, everybody thinks that this guy is a done deal to get a standard, life-changing money, and he freaking could have a injury like that. It just breaks my heart, man. On the court, the Heat are going to miss his toughness, his defensive tenacity, steady play, man. He doesn't turn the ball over. He just makes the right reads, and his jump shot was improving. He was starting to give them some outside shooting also. I think it's going to be a big loss. It's a big loss because he's a glue guy for that team.
Yeah, I mean, in 8 games in December, he's averaged almost 27 minutes a game, 9 points on 52% field goal shooting, 6 attempts. So, it's low attempts. 3 of those are threes, shooting 56% from 3, added another 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Just to give you counting stats to understand that he was rounding into what you would consider to be a viable backcourt player off of your bench. And then the stuff that doesn't show up in the stat sheet, it's just awful. So I think it does in the short term give Alec Burks a real opportunity to play some more. That's going to be a guy that you're going to see his minutes uptick. Tonight he was 3 of 6 from 3, 4 of 8 overall, 12 points, 24 minutes. That's probably about the amount of minutes you're going to see him play going forward until they figure out what other situation they're going to need to bring in backcourt help. I don't know what that looks like, and that's a conversation for another day as well. We still have one more segment to go. That's the defending the house segment. There's a few plays tonight that jumped out. I'm going to let Adele give a couple of those along with final thoughts. So let's dive into the real estate shop defending the house segment.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house.
So when you look at the percentages, I mean, they did hold the Nets to 39% from the field, 38% from three. They shot, relatively the same amount of free throws, 24 Miami to 20 for the Nets. This was a game where nothing jumped out to me that I can necessarily point to just from a play perspective. Is there anything you have, Adel, just from a defensive? I know Tyler had a moment. Khalil Ware had a moment. What do you got for us for this segment, Defending the House?
So for the Defending the House segment, this is something the fans have been clamoring to see. And that's Khalil Ware checking in at the approximately the 4-minute mark of the game. He gets an enormous block to set the tone at the 2:43 mark in the first quarter. And from then on, his presence down low, they only have him in the scorebook for one block, but he changed or altered probably 7 to 9 different shots throughout the game. His length and athleticism really played a part in deterring shots down low. So that's my Defending the House segment for Khalil Ware. But overall for the team, one other thing that jumped out was Pelle Larsson got back on a fast break in the second half, squared up, took a charge, and that's something that the team has sorely been missing, or players that are willing to sacrifice their body and take a charge.
You hit on it. That's it. They need guys that are willing to take charges. I know that seems like an elementary thing to ask from players. They need guys to get back to that. They need it's something that Kevin Love brought in doses. Kyle Lowry brought it while he was here as well. And for as much as I was frustrated by a lot of things, that is something that this Heat team has prided themselves on, and Pelle Larsson stepped up with that as well. I'm glad you brought up all the shots that Ware contested or redirected or just challenged, because you're right. It was more than just that one block. And that's good to see him developing into some of that, not getting into consistent foul trouble. So as Heat fans are kind of clamoring for what's next with this team, to see Ware take positive steps, I think is a good takeaway from tonight's game. Again, the Miami Heat win 110-95. We will have you covered for the rest of the games throughout the holiday. They play right on New Year's as well, so we'll have you covered for that. You're going to see a lot of Adel and I as we get through this home stretch of holiday games. We want to wish a happy holidays to all of our listeners. Adel, thank you for our time. Word up to our sponsors. The Miami Heat get a victory and hopefully get to enjoy themselves for a Merry Christmas. Peace out.